It's very disappointing to see such a great filmmaker like Michael Mann, who's done some groundbreaking work, make this. This movie was really bad.
This was awful.
This was a mess. I wanted to go in liking this movie. I actually had a lot of hope for this movie. And from top to bottom, this movie, it's so...
I mean, I love Chris Hemsworth. I mean, I love him in almost everything he's done. And I like, computer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Really good with it. But God, I was just sitting through this movie going, what?
This movie makes no sense in such an unnecessary way.
Yeah.
It's not the text stuff that's confusing. It's the plot that's confusing. It's the structure. It's the editing.
And you know what? The plot isn't even that bad if they would explain what's going on.
If the plot was told in a competent way.
I mean, it's about a dude trying to flood an area to get a corner of the market on tin, but you
through
don't,
cyber attacks. He's doing it through cyber attacks.
Yeah, but you don't learn this until like right before the climax, and that's because they blatantly tell you. Other than that, you don't know what's going on.
I feel like that was done intentionally to be a mystery. The problem is that nothing... I feel like there's moments where they're trying to unravel more of the mystery and the characters figure it out, but we, the audience, don't. There are moments where the characters are... Like, the main characters know what's happening more than the audience does because they don't let the audience in on anything.
No.
The characters in this movie are so cardboard and so emotionless. There's no one to get into, not even Chris Hemsworth. The delivery of a lot of the lines are weird, including Chris Hemsworth, who I like too. I was really hoping this would be a great way to push him more into dramatic films, and we still have the Moby Dick movie to look forward to, so maybe that'll do it better. But man, this was just... I don't even know how well of a performance I can say he gave in this film. It was weird. He read so many lines in such a weird way.
I kind of feel like maybe he didn't think that this movie was going to do very good, so he didn't really try. He almost looked like he didn't want to be there.
Yes, I agree with that.
Like he was like I just want to come here, I just want to read my lines, and I want to get out of here.
Yeah. And to me, the biggest problem, besides just how incompetent the script is, the camera work and editing. My gosh, is it bad?
Yeah, bad enough to where even I noticed it.
Yeah, I mean, Austin is your kind of casual movie viewer, and yeah,
even I
noticed it. I feel like most people will notice. There are so many horribly edited scenes. There are shots that linger on longer than they need to. There are shots that characters, background characters.
You kept doing it all the time. It's like okay, you're point across, cut, now cut, okay, now cut.
Yeah,
like
there's a shot where the two main characters are talking in a very uninteresting and pointless conversation, and a background character literally steps in front of the camera, and we get this out of focus look at this background character's back. Like his back is covering the entire camera's point of view and blocking Chris Hemsworth. And this shot lingers on for a while. There was no point to it. It had no payoff. There was no reason. And shots like that is what you get throughout this entire film.
There was another thing where you're watching and maybe they were trying to do this so that it would feel more like a camera recording, but you're watching a camera recording of one of the villains, and he's just sitting on a bench, but there's in front of the camera there's these two dudes on the side that are shirtless, but they're out of focus, and they're doing something or whatever, but they won't move out of the thing, and so you're supposed to be watching.
They won't even explain what those guys are doing.
Yeah, and they won't you're supposed to focus on the background guy, but these two are so distracting and out of focus, it's stupid.
Probably the weirdest shot of the film, well, it's actually two shots, but one of the weirdest, most out of place moments of weird editing in this film is about halfway in the film when a guy is on the phone with one of the main characters. You see this shot of the guy on the phone, and it's a shot of like the side of his face, and he says something, and then it immediately cuts to another shot of the guy. Only this time we see the front of his face, and he says another sentence, and then it cuts away. And these two, the first shot of this happens for maybe like 5 seconds, and then the second shot that it immediately cuts to is like 1 second, and then it cuts completely away to a different location. And that may not make much sense, me explaining it, but if you see this movie, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's weird. I don't know if I've ever seen that before in like a professional, like theatrically released film. This movie has awful editing. And
like
terrible ADR work.
Like the part with the helicopters, where before you realized that there was two of them, you thought you saw the same helicopter taking off twice.
Yeah. There's terrible dubbing / like ADR work. There's transitioning is all over the place.
Can we talk about the romance, please?
Sure.
Just briefly.
Going back to the incompetent script and pacing, the pacing is terrible, by the way. The first hour and a half of this movie is almost unwatchably slow and boring. And there's a romance between Chris Hemsworth and the other main character, and there is no romance, though. There is no...
This romance progresses quicker than Top Gun.
This movie makes Top Gun look like a 3-hour romantic epic.
Like they meet, they go through a few things together, and then literally like 5 minutes later in screen time, they're already like having sex.
They don't even like do a few things together.
No.
They go to a restaurant and talk for a second. Chris Hemsworth beats the crap out of these 3 random Asian guys, and then it cuts to them like
having a romantic moment on like a ledge.
Like, and then they're suddenly in a bed having sex. This movie doesn't answer anything.
No.
At one point, there are scenes where characters are together, and then a couple of those characters get separated, and they're driving in a car, and then all of a sudden they arrive at the destination where those other people were at, but those other people didn't go anywhere. So it feels like these characters are driving in circles.
It's like there was a person, and then they leave, and then it's like a driving montage. And then they pull up to this place, and then that person that they left at the other place is standing
suddenly
right
there.
And it's like, did they just like go drive in a circle or something? And they even like during that scene when they're driving, they paid a toll. Remember?
Yeah.
So it's like, what is going on here?
And towards the third act, Chris Hemsworth and the other main the love interest, they become fugitives, and with no explanation at all. They get money and supplies, they sneak into another country, they have laptops, they have all this hacking equipment, no explanation as to how they got any of it. None.
Nope.
And we just go with it. The main villain does not get introduced until 5 minutes before the climax. There is no build up to his presence whatsoever. He's just there.
And he's not intimidating at all. And
he looks like Hyde from that 70s show if he grew up. This movie is a mess. Everything about this movie is a mess.
It feels like unfinished. Like maybe
yes! That's a perfect way to put it. It feels like an unfinished film.
Like we're watching like a raw cut or something.
The nicest thing I can say, Henry Gregson Williams did a great job scoring the film. As he always does, because he's a great composer.
And I mean, the action scenes...
Some of them are okay.
But the camera is so all over the place.
Here's a great comparison. The action scenes in this movie are very similar to Public Enemies, which was the previous film Michael Mann did. And like that, they're very loud. Like the gunshots are super loud. It's kind of... Shaky cam is not the best way to describe it, but the camera is shaky, and it's very blurry. Very, very blurry and shaky. And like Public Enemies, I feel like this was done to give it a very realistic feel. And sometimes it worked. Kind of like Public Enemies. Sometimes it worked okay, but a lot of the times it's annoying and unnecessary.
Like, especially the melee fight in the restaurant.
Yeah.
That was all over the place.
That was all over the place. Absolutely it was. The climactic fight was overall okay, except for the fact that they're in a parade, and all these characters are busting out guns and knives and killing each other, and no one in the parade seems to care. They're just marching on.
Not until
the gunshots.
Not until
fired.
the guns start firing.
Yeah.
Do they react. But there's that part where Chris Hemsworth has the gun on the villain and he's walking towards him with the gun on him, and people are like running into him, and he's like pushing them out of the way. It's like, he has a gun. What are you doing? It's like, I don't care if you don't speak the same language. You know what a gun is. Like, oh man. Hey, let me ask you a personal question. If you don't want to answer it, that's okay. Who'd you lose in 9/11? My husband.
Yeah.
What?
I completely forgot.
What does that even have to do with anything?
There are scenes that make no sense. There's a scene kind of in the beginning / middle of the film where these two side characters are talking, and then suddenly the guy says to the woman, "Who did you lose in 9/11?" She says, "My husband." And that's the end of the scene. No sense. There was no... This movie has nothing to do with 9/11, for the record. No. This movie makes...
I mean, terrorism, maybe, but...
completely different terrorists, I might add. This movie is a mess. This movie made me sick. Like, not physically, but like, just... I feel so crappy now.
And you know, I understand that, like, the background of the characters, the two Chinese characters, is that they grew up in America. But, like, at the beginning of the movie, they're in China, and they're speaking Chinese, and there's subtitles because they're speaking Chinese. But then, oh no, we can't do that for too long, you know? So then they start speaking perfect English. And for the rest of the movie, they're always speaking English. Even when they're in China again, they're always speaking English. It's like, that makes no sense. You're not in America anymore.
Yeah, I don't recommend Blackhat. This was a really depressing film to watch.
Like, even if you're a Hemsworth fan...
well, if you're a Michael Mann fan like me, like...
This is just skip this.
Go watch Collateral.
Well, I mean, you were telling me it's bombing bad.
Very bad. And I feel bad for Michael Mann losing all that money, but then again, this movie sucks and no one should see it, so... I mean, go watch Collateral, watch Heat.
Yeah, that's why you and I go waste money to see it, so we can tell other people that they shouldn't go see it.
That's right. It's a sacrifice we're willing to make.
Well, I mean, you know, the theater was packed, so, you know.
It was just Austin and I in the theater. I'm pretty sure whoever was running the projector wasn't even, like, present for most of the film. I feel like even whoever ran the projector just turned it on and then just, like, walked out of the room. I feel like we were literally the only two souls in that area in the theater. All right, well, that's Blackhat. We'll have some more reviews up soon. Mess. Don't see it.
Well, should we talk about trailers really quick? We got a few new ones.
Yeah, we got 50 Shades of Grey. We we got Mark's Kingsman for the millionth time. Chappie for the millionth time. The Carl Urban film. The
Loft.
The Loft. Maybe. That looks like it could be good.
Kind of like a.
It has a very Hitchcock
psychological thriller.
Yeah, and with all the tilted angle shots, it had a very Hitchcockian look to it. So maybe that'll be good.
I mean, I love Carl Urban.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there was the A Most Violent Year, which I've gotten a trailer for before. That looks like it could be good. And then was there one other film? I think there was.
I feel like there was.
I can't remember. Well, anyways, Blackhat, don't see it.